In this week's Torah portion, Genesis, Nachmanides, well, in truth, the Ramban, even before we get into the Torah portion, his famous introduction to the book of Genesis, he looks at how he first establishes that the Torah was given to Moses by the mouth of God, right? God speaks the Torah to Moses. And what is this Torah? It contains within all the wisdom, all the science in the world. This explains why King Solomon was the wisest person on earth, because he knew to take out of the Torah everything it had to offer to a human of flesh and bones. And not only that, the Torah, we are taught, he teaches us, and I'm just giving it in a nutshell because it's a beautiful introduction, is that the Torah is not only the commandments and a story of time and history and beyond all of that, but it's also God. It hides within it the names of God, and there are different ways of reading the Torah. And here, of course, Nachmanides concludes and says, the deeper, more mystical ways of understanding, forget about trying to understand if you weren't given the proper training. So we're going to try and do our best to understand, and we're going to focus on one verse. So we have this scene where Adam is, right, he's giving primordial Adam, the first Adam, he's naming the unboxing ceremony. He names all the different species and all of the different beings, right, the ox, the cattle, the birds, the eagle, you name it, everything. And at the end of this naming process, he sees that he does not have a companion. He then falls asleep. God, performs open surgery, takes out a limb, and voila, we have the spouse. And the question that begs himself is, why do this? Why go through naming to then realize you don't have a companion, to then having to go through open surgery to take out a limb? Why not just from the start? So Nachmanides looks at this and he has something very profound to teach us. He says, this word companion, ezer, we always use it, usually take it to understand that as Adam is naming everything, he then realizes he does not have a companion. Nachmanides says, according to my view, the act of naming is finding companionship. It's part and parcel. What does this mean? He says that when Adam came to give names to each and every being on earth, part of that was, so essentially naming means Adam understood the essence of the elephant, the essence of the eagle, the essence of the lavender. And when he understood the essence of these, he was able to name them. But part and parcel of that essence was understanding what is the companion, how do you reproduce, how do you ensure that the life goes on. So part and parcel of the naming was who are the different companions. And we know that, for example, in Hebrew, right, you have certain species, couples that go together that have the same name, like certain fish, but then you have, say, a cow and an ox, right, a shor and parah, that have different names. And only then, when he came to put the companions together as part of this naming process, he then realizes he doesn't have a companion, he gets sad, and he falls asleep, and then the open surgery. So why go through this? And and Nachmanides says, because God wanted for Adam to have a desire in finding his companion. Meaning we had to go this way so that Adam realizes everything else has a companion, and then unlike every other being that was created or formed, because nothing here is created. That was all. Everything was created in the first day. Everything is formed. All cattle, all species are formed together with companions, except for mankind. Mankind has to first realize, have the desire that everything else has a companion. He doesn't, wanting this, and then God can do this. And why is this so important? So he tells us in the next verse that it's for cleaving. Because the relationship between man and wife, between husband and wife, between male and female, unlike all other species, and here he doesn't agree with Rashi. Rashi says, what does it mean to be davuk, to cleave? Just like animals, at the act of cohabitation, you're one. So too, when two become one, so do we. And Nachmanides says no. He says, our cleaving, we are the only ones who cleave. Nidbakim, we are glued one another. And it seems that it has much to do with the very distinction between the way man's companionship comes about and all other species. Lots to think about. Thoughts on the Torah portion of Genesis and the act of companionship and the naming by the great Nachmanides. Shabbat Shalom.